So you're looking at starting a coffee shop or maybe really considering this option for the future. You're in a small town or maybe a medium-sized town. We want to give you some tips, some things that we've went through, and hopefully can help you along your way.
When people come to you, and they do, and say, I'm thinking about starting a coffee shop, what advice do you give them? But also, let's tell them a little bit about what we did.
So hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Coffee Snob. Thanks for checking it out. We want to throw some great stories at you from our way. We get a lot of people who ask us just personally, people that we know and some people that we don't know, people online even. They're looking at starting a small town coffee shop. They have had this dream for a while. They want to know the best steps to get started. They want to know some of the details about financing. They want to know about some of the hidden costs. And then how do they actually get this dream to become a reality? So that's what we're going to talk about. We've done this twice already. And so it's just, something that we wanted to share about because we've had some experiences with it and some surprises with it and some other things that were like, wow, that was easier than what we thought. So we're just gonna go through what it's like to open a small town coffee shop and how to be successful and how not to get in over your head. So we want to talk about maybe how to get financing, how to get money to start this thing. So I know some of you guys might have enough money to get it started, but it's like your nest egg and you want to make sure that you invest it well. Some of you guys don't have any money right now. You just have this dream and you have this knowledge and you might have a ton of coffee knowledge to bring to the table, and just know that that's value. That doesn't count for nothing. That's bringing a lot to the table. And so, so we've done it two different ways. You want to talk about Blackjacks, or you want to talk about Lingoville Country Store first, or?
Well, let's talk about Lingoville. Our story is really unique, and yours will be too. So, what happened was this was a little store, a little old building in our town, and the only store in our town. And it came up for sale in 2007. And at that time, my parents actually bought the store. So they didn't have a ton of knowledge in, running a store or owning a store, but they knew that, I think they had a vision for it that was really good. And life and all kinds of things happened. And so about 10 years passed. And at that time, Lance came in and became one of their employees. They had multiple businesses at that time. And this was a little like a side thing. And then he used his knowledge in here to kind of improve upon the store. So we didn't, he always dreamed of having a shop, but we were young, two, had very little credit. We didn't have bad credit, we just didn't have a lot of credit, and didn't have a lot of debt, but we also didn't have a lot of cash. So what happened was Lance worked for many years in this store until we were at a place. So he worked as an employee and saved and kind of learned the ropes, and actually it was a really big blessing for us. I hope we blessed my parents too. I think we did, because the store wasn't really thriving or making money. And so then Lance came in and really transitioned it into more, because it was just a convenience store, and he turned it into kind of like your one-stop shop for all Lance's favorite things. That's some of the advice that we give people. We've had people who have come to us that want to do a coffee truck or want to do a bookstore or want to do this or that, like partnered with a cafe, because cafes make money. People want coffee. And so it's a good direction to go business wise. But one of, I think what Lance usually tells them is go work for somebody who has a coffee business. Learn the ins and outs of the coffee business with very little risk. I think that one of the big things for us was just being patient and waiting, but waiting for things to come together. And so what happened in those years of waiting and working here before we were like the owners was Lance was not only developing his coffee skills, but he was also developing his management skills, his time management skills, his business management skills. And there was no risk for us. And we got the same education that a business owner gets, right? Because there's a lot of people that just open businesses and they learn so much.
Yeah.
But they lose so much money.
It's the school of hard knocks sometimes. And if you really consider it, you know, people pay good money for a college education and they don't get paid a dime for it. And there's a lot of great coffee shops out there for you to get a start in. And so if you're not in a place where you're really tied down right now, I would suggest, hey, go get a part-time job at a coffee shop and get some training under your belt. Get some experience under your belt. Help them with orders. Help them with as much as you can, and then you'll have some knowledge. You have some knowledge to work with, or go to like a barista training, or get someone to train you. That's another thing is, I tell people this all the time. You want to start a coffee shop, and I ask them, well, what's your reason for having coffee? What's your reason for going to coffee? And I just tell them, it can't be for money. What's your reason? And if they just say, because I want to make money, then I tell them, you know, good luck out there, you know, good luck. Because I feel like the thing that has made us thrive is this passion for making incredible coffee, and this passion for just the product itself.
Well, don't you think like people are smart? Like on every level, people aren't stupid. So if you're coming to my store and my entire motive is to get something from you, that's very different than when you love coffee and you're passionate about it and your motive is to give them something great.
Yeah. And I feel
like, get compensated, sure.
I feel like you feel it when you walk in the door too. There's certain coffee shops that you can go to that you feel like you're preyed upon, or certain businesses that you feel like this person wants me to buy something from them, rather than this person wants to offer me something incredible. And of course I would pay for that. You know, that's the difference in the business model that's gonna make customers repeat customers. And that's what's gonna make you successful. So that's one thing that we did here is I brought a passion here that I already had. And so that's number one. If you wanna start a coffee shop, make sure that you believe in your own product. Make sure that you can stand behind it and say, this is something that I'm really proud of that I'm offering. Because if it's not, I just feel like you're just stopping short of what you wanted in the first place, you know?
And that's I don't know if our story exactly, you know, like working for my parents and then slowly coming into a place where we could purchase this actual, not only the business, but the property. I don't know if that's necessarily replicable, but I would say that the core tenet of that is being patient.
Yeah.
And growing in your skills, like getting an education, and at the same time blessing somebody else, blessing your employer with your skills.
Yeah.
And kind of waiting for, and saving and being smart. I mean, things were tight. We have 5 kids, you know, but that was, you know, everything has a cost. And in the meantime, we've talked about this on other podcasts, but Lance was purchasing things to one day have a coffee shop. So we didn't have to take out a loan so we could have the 20 grand that it takes to put in the good equipment, the espresso machine, the grinders, the cups, the chairs, the tables, the plates, all the little things that you don't really think about, but they all have a cost.
There's a lot of stuff that we had in storage already because this was something that I was planning for. So that's like the preliminary investments that you need to start making now is you need to find excellent deals on good equipment, and you need to have those ready to roll. If you know that this is something that you want to do, go ahead and start doing that. If it's something that you want to finance yourself, go ahead and start getting ready and getting prepared. And that's something that launched us into this. And so in a nutshell, the thing that made us able to take this place over was the fact that we had the equipment already. And so when I came to work here for a business that wasn't doing so well, for a business that was losing money and they kind of wanted out. So I came to work for them and I made a deal with them and said, hey, I'll work for you for this many, for this long, or till this mark, or till this, till you get your money back from all the money that you lost. And then at the end of that time, I pay you X amount for the business and the property, and it's mine. And so they got out with the things that they needed, and then I got what I wanted in the end. So that was our kind of unique business deal that we made here. And it was actually with family. So it actually worked out really good. Yeah. I feel like we blessed them tremendously. And I feel like it was a tremendous blessing to us at the same time. And so, it turned out to be a really good thing because we were already prepared, because we had our faces towards it already.
So Blackjack's was a little bit different. It was actually a pretty quick start. The business came on the market early, like April, May 2020.
It was a coffee shop that bit the dust in 2020, like a lot of them.
It was tough. And then, but then we were open by the end of July of 2020. So that was much quicker. I think that there are necessary times. There's good debt and there's necessary times to get into debt, but we just didn't want to be a slave to debt. And so, and there's a reasonable amount of debt. And so both with the store and with Blackjack's, we've started simple, and we'll talk a little more about that. So we didn't have to take out huge loans that we were strapped to, and then it sucks all the joy out of making coffee for people because you have to have this margin, and all the margins and percentages are really important, and we try to make sure that we have those. But when you have these bills and these payments due every month, the shop that we took over, we didn't take over it. We really, the shop that we bought it with all the stuff. And what we saw in there was a lot of unused equipment, a lot of unused syrups and product and smoothie mixes and things, because it was maybe they bought in bulk and they got a deal, but then they had to go through that to make their money back, right? So instead, we do it a little different, and we'll talk about that when we talk about starting small. But I think that, so with Blackjack's, we set a budget, and it was $20,000 that we wanted to do to start up. This was another fun thing with family. My brother, he's into real estate, so he bought the building, and our business rents from him. And so our rent, we made a deal where our rent was a percentage of our gross income, and then we also partnered with him, because that's another way to get some capital, right? You don't have to go through a bank. You don't have to do all the ping your credit. You don't have to do all the stuff if you have somebody who's willing to invest.
Yeah. So that's another way. A lot of you guys might think like, oh, I need to go to a bank. I need to get approved. And just know, like, there's a lot of people out there who are looking to invest their money into something that's going to make them money. And so if you have something that you believe in and something that you know is going to work, then talk to those people. And those people, it might not be that big of a deal for them to spare $20,000 and help you get on your feet if they can have a percentage of your company. So it's a win for them and it's a win for you, right? And that's a deal that you make with somebody that's just on a personal level, and it looks different every time, and you just negotiate with that person. And I would say this, like, I've heard in the business world that you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And while that's true, I just believe in this principle of generosity too, in that when you're generous, you are rewarded for generosity. And it's not to say that you need to be stupid or you don't need to negotiate at all, but it's just to understand what that other person needs and what that other person wants, and not just what you need. I feel like, making deals with people can bring you a lot of anxiety if you're not willing to be generous and to look from their perspective. So when you're making those deals, know that, hey, this person has to make a reasonable amount of money as well going into this.
I think it's important that if you are going to partner with someone, that you really pray about it, that you make sure that there's someone who is like-minded, who is equally invested in your business, because their resentment will build if you're like, I'm putting in all the stuff and you're not doing anything. And so, and someone that you trust.
Trust is key, because when you partner with somebody, you're putting a lot on the line with that person. And you're making yourself very vulnerable. And so when you partner with somebody, just make sure that that everything goes through a lawyer, and that you're in contact with that lawyer and you're talking with them, and that you get it all checked out. But at the same time, that that you like this person and that you know this person, and it's not just some dude off the street who happens to have $1 million in his account who wants something to invest in.
I would definitely say get it all in writing. And I feel like when we were at Black Chicks, we were like, whatever, because, I love my brother. It's like my favorite. So I'm just like, yeah. And he's like, no, like, let's get this all laid out, because he's very business savvy and smart and wants to do things the right way.
And he was really good about, he's been in a lot of business partnerships, so he was really good about seeing the long term and saying, listen, all this stuff needs to be ironed out flat. It needs to be in black and white, and then we sign on the dotted line, and that contract is what we're going to go by. And it was somebody, we trusted him,
and we're learning.
We were learning. Yeah, so that was a big deal for us, getting financed in that way, going through an individual, and then having a partnership where he had a certain percentage and we had a certain percentage. But yeah, in that particular situation, we didn't put any money up. All I did was bring knowledge to what we were doing, and then I did the design and the build out, and I got it on its feet, and then we found a manager, we found employees, and they take care of it. And so now it's just a partnership where I make sure that I take care of my manager there and see everything that she needs. And she's awesome. And she's just, and we couldn't have done it without the right people in place. So if it's something that you want to have that's hands off, then you need to make sure that you have a legit person in place, and you need to have somebody you trust. Yeah. And somebody who knows what they're doing first, and then take the step. Unless it's something that you want to run. And then in that case, put yourself on the payroll and go for it.
Definitely put yourself on the payroll, because there's a lot of people that start a business and they won't pay themselves. They'll take the hit and they'll convince themselves and pretend that they're making money.
Or that they will next month. And it's like...
But if you can't afford to pay yourself, then you can't afford to replace yourself. And if, God forbid, something happened to you, or maybe you just didn't want to do it, or you wanted to do something new, you already know that the business is set up to be profitable because it can pay you. But I think part of starting a business is really counting the cost. And there's a lot of people who are like, I just love coffee and I want to have a coffee shop. But there's a lot of costs involved. So I think that's with everything in life, right? Any big decision, any big investment, it's important to count the cost.
Yeah.
And so there are some, with your costs, you have either your rent or your property. That's a cost. And with that comes like your trash, your electric, your water.
There's a lot of things to pay for.
Repair, maintenance, parking lot maintenance. There are hidden costs everywhere that people don't think about, like taxes and insurance and permits and trainings.
The list goes on. And I'll just say, that's part of it. That's part of getting good financing and then shooting a little over than what you think.
Yeah.
And not starting too big. That's one thing that we really recommend to people when they're first starting is start small. Start as small as you can possibly get away with and still make money. Like when we took over this place, we moved in an espresso machine and did coffee from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock to 2 o'clock, sorry.
6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
So I worked from 6 to 2. That's when we made coffee. Then we shut it down. And the normal employees that were here came in. But even with Blackjacks, we started on a minimalist budget. We found a really good deal on an espresso machine, a great deal on a grinder. A lot of the equipment we bought with the building. And so we had some refrigerators, we had some other stuff that we just plugged in and we were ready to go. We bought an oven, we bought maybe a couple of fridges. And as far as equipment goes, that's what we started with. So our big expense was buying the building, which we didn't even buy. That was part of her brother's deal. But then doing the build, and other than that, we started as small as we could, and then we let it grow organically.
For about 20 grand, we got all our equipment. Yeah. We did a remodel, a counter. It's not a very big place. Would you say it's 900 square foot, 1,000 square foot?
It's pretty small. There's a small seating area and then like a horseshoe-shaped bar in it, and that's about it.
But then that also, another cost is going to be your products that you get in that you're going to sell. So for Blackjack specifically is a cafe. So we have food and stuff like that. But even then, we started with like 3 main syrups and honey and mocha, and a combination of flavors of those syrups to make special drinks.
I think when a lot of people are starting a cafe, they think that they have to go with the full spectrum of syrups from vanilla all the way to toasted marshmallow. And honestly, like, you don't need rose flavored syrup. You don't need all the toffees. You don't need a lot of these flavors that are they're just flavors, they're artificial flavors anyway. And so one thing that we've kind of committed to is we make our own syrups, we make them with good ingredients, and honestly, it's so cheap to make your own stuff. It's just sugar and water. And so come up with a good recipe. Honestly, we've got a great video on it, on how to make your own syrup. And all you have to do is mix sugar and water together and flavor it, and you've got your own syrup. You're not going to have the full spectrum, but honestly, a lot of people don't care. I find that when people come here, they realize that the coffee for us is central and not all the flavors that you add to it. There's great recipes on how to make a frappe. There's great recipes on how to make lattes and brewed coffee and mochas and all that stuff. And you don't need a lot of these syrups and a lot of these mixes and powders and artificially flavored preservative filled ingredients. That's honestly, it's just going to make your products taste worse in the end, and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars up front. So to get a shipment of this stuff, most of it is all shipping because they're just shipping water to you where you have water already and all you have to do is buy sugar that costs, pennies an ounce.
And if you put your money more into good coffee, you'll make a name for yourself because you'll stand out because not everybody offers good tasting coffee. Yeah. And then you don't need all the syrups to mask bad coffee because you have good coffee. So a little syrup might help showcase your coffee, but most of the time, we have a lot of people that don't want syrup in their coffee.
So that's another really common mistake that I feel like cafes make is not only will they go with these big brand syrups, but then they'll buy the big brand syrups, spend all their money there, and then they'll buy cheap coffee and cheap beans when it's all about the quality of the coffee. And I'm just here to tell you, after 20 years of experience with this, not all coffee is the same, and you need to know your stuff when it comes to coffee, because you're the coffee shop owner, you're the manager, and it's up to you to know these things. And so get educated on that. Find a good roaster that has good beans, and that's where you need to invest your money. And don't buy too large of a quantity at one time, because coffee goes stale, and it goes stale really fast. And so really, beans here, we don't keep them for over a month, and we get them next day after they've been roasted. And so, yeah, the coffee's always fresh and it's top-notch quality. That's something that I'm willing to invest my money in, because my customers are willing to invest their money in it. And I know that they're going to appreciate the top-notch product. If it costs me a little extra, then my prices on my lattes, they're just math. There's no feelings that go into it. If my coffee costs X amount an ounce, if I use X amounts per drink, then my drink costs X amount. And that's how that is. I don't look at my neighbor's prices. I don't look at anybody's prices. It's just math.
You're so passionate.
Hey, it's true. It's true. And you know, that's what I tell people is, you know, put your money where it counts, and then offer a really good product. And syrups, honestly, it's just not worth the money that you're gonna have to spend, because you can make that stuff on your own, and you can make it taste better.
You have a video. You can click the link.
Yeah. Click the link in the video. Like and subscribe. So yeah, start small, start simple. That's another big thing. Don't get $100,000 in debt, especially if this is your first shop. Especially if you're not like a coffee expert. Don't go get in over your head, because you know there's a lot of risk involved when you're first starting out, you know.
And I think it takes so long for your customer. If you have a huge menu, it takes a long time for your customers to even go through that menu. Yeah. So if you start with a really simple menu, and then you can slowly grow it and build it, and then over a span of 2 years, instead of having 3 flavors of muffins, you might build to 5 or 6, and people will branch out, but it gives them time to enjoy and savor the first things, and then build. And I think that's something really beautiful about Lingleville, is we've just really slowly added.
Well, it worked for us because the deal that we made was on an existing shop that wasn't successful. But when we came in, we got the opportunity to slowly build a customer base on somebody else's dime. So that was huge. So yeah, I mean, keep your eyes out for businesses that might be struggling, and you know, they might want a deal. You know, they might want a really good deal, because it might work out for them, it might work out for you.
You know, if you're in a small town too, one thing that has been really cool is that we have a really diverse selection of things. But everything that we have, like, we love. Like, everything that we have is really, really good. And we didn't just have product on the shelf to like make a buck or like try to move it. Like,
yeah.
I think the things that we have are things that we are deep down, we're saying, you've got to try this. Yeah. This is so cool. You need it. You should try it.
Yeah.
So from the cigars to the craft soda, you know, to like organic Armagh yogurt, everything in here is it's kind of like a one-stop shop for some really good stuff. We got wine, we've got craft beer, we've got regular beer, we've got chips and muffins and pizza and
I would say
lunch and dinner.
When I figure out what to put on the shelf, the first question that I ask myself is someone going to want to buy this? The first thing I ask myself is this something that I love? Is this something that I would want to share with someone when they came over for dinner? You know, is this something that I'm proud of? And then I ask myself, is this something that is feasible for me to sell? And I think that has really set us apart as unique, is because it's very easy to sell something that you believe in and you know is good. But if you don't think something's good, then chances are it's going to be really hard to sell somebody that they should buy it, you know?
It's really good.
Yeah, figure out what you like, you know, even like the syrups, even like the coffee that I have here. It's all stuff that I would rather have in my coffee than have your big brand stuff. And I really think on that note too, you see a lot of small boutique shops that have really high quality product and that are really successful. They have a smaller trimmed down menu, and I feel like that's for a good reason. It's because they focus down on the quality that they can handle, and they know that they don't need the rest, and almost they don't want the rest, simply because it's just not, it's the quality's not there yet. And then if they can bring something on that's quality, they do it. And that's kind of the approach that we've taken, is we take the bite that we can handle. And so a lot of times that leaves off your English toffee syrup, where, you know, one day I might make an English toffee syrup from scratch and just have it, you know, as a limited offering or something like that. But yeah, start simple, grow organic. It's really important.
Yeah. If you are in a small town, I think that it's really good to offer things, like we said, that are diverse, but because, you know, we have different seasons where our products move faster and then slower, and in the slower seasons we need the other product to move faster. So in the summer we sell a lot of craft beer and craft sodas, a lot of drinks, a lot of bottled drinks, waters,
lemonades. We make a lot of cream sodas, just a lot of cold stuff because it's hot, you know. We
actually sell a lot of coffee. We sell coffee throughout. Coffee's really pretty steady, but the winter is good for coffee, for muffins, for wine, tea, for gifts, for retail,
cigars,
for tea. And so I think that sustained us and then we're here. We have a little school in our town, and so kids come over after school. But in the summer, we don't have our after school crowd or after school rush, but we're still sustained because we don't just offer pizza and chips and Dr. Pepper. You know, we have all kinds of things for all kinds of people, and people know when they're passing through, they can get that.
So one of the things that, like an example of that is of being diverse with your products is, say at Blackjack's, we had a really slow afternoon and we were closing at 7 o'clock at night, but really all our business was from about 7 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And then it just dropped off a cliff at 2, and it was just dead the rest of the day. And so we wanted this dinner crowd, and we offered some sandwiches and stuff like that. We had sandwiches, we had some sodas like we have here with the craft sodas. We had muffins, we had coffee menu, of course.
She even did a soup.
Yeah, the soup. And it went okay.
But it was so much of it was geared really towards lunch. Even though it could be dinner, we were doing really breakfast and lunch.
And so what a lot of people would naturally do is just trim back their hours and just close at 5 or close at 3 or even close at 2 and just say, you know, our shop only has business from this time to this time, so let's just trim it down to that time. But we just took a different approach, and we said, well, what do our customers want from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock? And why aren't they coming in from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock? So we said to ourselves, maybe they want something after 7. So we ended up not cutting our hours, but extending our hours for 1 more hour of the day. So we closed at 8 instead of 7. And then we brought in pizza. So pre-made crust, homemade marinara, and good quality cheese toppings, and
which some of the toppings we already had for sandwiches and other things. So
that was another thing.
It was kind of a no-brainer. And that actually, you know, because I hate it. I hate it when I go to a shop, especially a new shop, and they change their hours. And you're like, I've been wanting to go, and then you pull up and they're closed, and you're like, it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 o'clock, and they're closed. And I really feel like that's the sign that not only is a business struggling, but they're kind of on their way out. If I can ever not change our hours. You know, I don't change our hours. And if anything, I seldom ever trim back hours.
Yeah, because I think we want people to try. And if you come by to try, I hope we're open.
Yeah.
We want to be open.
And you got to crack that code of what they want in that time. So actually, when we brought in the pizza, which is more of a later in the day type thing, an evening, yeah, it did it for us. And suddenly from 5 to 8, it was great, and we'd sell a little bit of everything. But it's just being creative and not giving up. That's something that that diversity really helped out. So, yeah. And then here in Lingleville, because we're kind of like the only thing around, we've had to carry a lot of different stuff. So we get guys in here that are farmers who are just coming in for lunch, or we get the teachers from the school who want coffee in the mornings, or we get guys coming in at 5 when they're getting off of work, and they want a 6-pack of beer and everything in between.
Yeah.
And so we've just tried to offer that and to consider our community, and not only consider what they want, but to offer them something like really good at the same time.
Yeah. So we just got back. We went on a trip to Europe. We went to Portugal. And it's really funny because I feel like where we are, our shop is like it has everything, but it's kind of an anomaly. I don't know a lot of people who have like a gas station with like a specialty like coffee bar in it where they're making like quality espresso, you know?
It's rare.
But it's funny because I'm Portuguese and Lance isn't. And we're in Portugal, and every little shop that has pizza, that has just food, or
ice cream parlor, every single
bar,
shop.
Every place has an espresso machine.
Hotel lobby, full 2-group espresso machine with a grinder.
And it's just like so funny to me because
and nobody knew how to make coffee. Oh my gosh, I was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well. But the thing about it is it was every convenience store, every quick grab place, every place had espresso, and it works because a lot of stuff it's small town, right? So you're walking to the shop, and you're gonna get your little thing of espresso, or you're gonna get a soda, a cola, or whatever. And so it's really funny. I was teasing Lance that he's actually really Portuguese, and he didn't know it. Like, he has a convenience store with an espresso machine in it. And so,
well, it's got to have an espresso machine.
It works for them. And I think that it works in this small town where there's just not a lot of chains or other businesses to be had. Like, you can get it all here.
Yeah. Whatever we've done, we've tried to do it really well.
You're such a snob. I can't even believe you commented on their coffee.
Oh, their coffee was terrible.
What a snob.
Terrible. They were pulling like 5-second shots. It was just like
fine. It was fine.
It wasn't fine. It was a shame. This is Europe. They should know espresso so well. I wanted to jump back behind the counter so many times.
I wanted to watch you. I was like, go show them.
Please let me just make it. Please let me make it for you.
Can I make my own?
Oh,
what a brat.
I know. Hey, all you coffee snobs out there, you know what I'm talking about.
Are you ruined?
How many times have you wanted to jump behind the counter and say, can you just let me make it? Sorry. I know that sounds so arrogant.
Yeah. Snob. It's a snob.
So anyway, diversity, letting it grow organically. Don't push too hard. Don't spend a bunch of money going that direction. Starting small, starting simple, financing, and then cost. So where to put your money where it really counts. So you got a few things on our little list here. We talked about some of it already.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
I think that
cost.
I don't. Yeah.
Pay your people what you can.
There's another cost.
That's another thing that I would say be generous on. Be generous with your employees and you'll get good ones.
Yeah.
You know, reward people and pour into them with things other than just money.
Yeah.
You know, I would say invest in them personally, see them thrive even outside of work, and you'll get good people.
You know, one of the things that has blessed us is actually like our point of sales system. It's called POS system. It has they're able to take tips through the system on through a credit card. And I think that's been a great thing for us. We actually didn't always have that. We had a very ancient POS system. It was truly a POS. And so, but this one, that's another good thing to have is that
let people tip you.
Let people tip your people and bless them. And I think that it really ups their game, their customer service, not for a tip, but it does make sure that they know that is an option for the customer if they want it. And so that's a good little thing. Like we're such a small business. I know there's always this, like, do we offer insurance? What benefits? What's the time off? What's the, and some of that when you're starting out, it's really hard to offer those things to your employee. But tips and with a small business and a small tip pool is really nice. I think of friends working at some bigger chains and they're in a tip pool with like 40 people. And so that was one of the things. She was like, so what are the tips split between? I was like, there's 9 of us, and that's a good, and hire good people.
Hire good people and invest in those good people. But I would say too, along the same lines as people, this is kind of like what we'll wrap it up with, but do it for the people. At the end of the day, the human connection is what makes this all possible. And so when somebody walks in the door, make sure that you're connecting with that person. And that's going to do a few things. It's going to make that person know you well. They're going to get a human connection. And so they're going to feel this connection to not only you, but your business. And then also, it's going to, where was I going with this? I just lost my train of thought.
Well, I think it's funny because that you're talking about that, because I remember a time that, when you start, we were here and we were working a lot.
That's where.
And it was so stressful.
Reading my mind.
We're the same person. And so it just was like, I remember him being stressed and frustrated, and we probably had another baby at that time or something. There was just all the things of life that were really difficult. And I remember him coming home and saying, I was trying to get an order done and I was working on something and he was the only one here. Now we're never just one person on the floor. We have at least 2 or 3, but there was a long season where he was just the one. I think our manager was out of the country. It was super stressful.
Yeah.
And so he was working and he was trying to get everything done. And it was a long string of working very hard for many, many weeks. And he said, somebody came in. A customer came in and I was so mad at them. Like, how dare you come interrupt me?
Yeah.
And I have these things to get done. And he was saying he was going to tell me like what he learned. And I was just like, babe, I was like, that's just like our kids, I'm doing dishes and I'm making them food and they're coming and tugging on me. And it's just like, what do you want?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh my gosh, like, you're the point. You're the home. Yeah. You're my home. And he was like, I know. Like, it hit me. Like, the customers are the point. Which is so simple.
Yeah.
But it's easy to get so distracted by the to-do list that we miss the point.
Yeah.
Of like loving the people that are put in front of us.
That's where I was going, don't miss the human connection, because that is your signal that you're missing it, is when you have a customer that walks in the door and you get frustrated or you feel anxiety when you get another customer. And so that should be like your your red light alert going off saying you're missing the point. And it's really easy to get there when you're overwhelmed. But it's really important that we stop. We slow down enough to realize like the people that come in not only are the reason that we're open, but you know, they're the only way that we're going to be open in the future. But you know, what can I do for this person? What can I share with this person? How can I connect with this person? Because at the end of the day, the human connection is what we have. It's just like what she was saying with our kids is, you know, just because you're working, you know, for these people, don't miss the person. Don't miss the person.
What does this person need?
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's more than coffee.
Yeah.
They don't just need coffee.
And they don't just want coffee. They
need a
want
smile.
They want you.
They might need a hug, a handshake. They might just need someone to listen.
And I'll tell you, when you give that person a good product, that's the minimum that you can do for them. But when you become a friend, or you pray for them, or you hear their story, that's the unique opportunity that we have in a coffee shop, is that a lot of times, you know, people share with us crazy stuff. And when you just listen and you respond.
We're like bartenders.
It is. It's like a bartender almost, except people aren't wasted. They're not that honest. But anyway, when you have that human connection, I'll tell you right now, that's a face that you're going to see for a long time. And those are your regulars. Those are the people that you're going to see all the time. And so, yeah, with that, I'd say good luck starting out, guys. And I hope this podcast helped you guys. I hope that some of our stories and our experiences getting cranked up is going to help you guys get off the ground and get your own coffee shop one day. Just know, love what you do what you love. And so good luck out there. Thanks for checking out the podcast, Coffee Snob. We'll see you next time.